preseason opener to the Green Bay Packers. And there wasn't much to talk about. However, there were some bright spots. We're going to focus on those now. Your latest Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB, and the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate all of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen. Become part of the everyday crowd. Do not miss a thing. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Saturday's opener, week 1 preseason in Cleveland. Cleveland Browns fall 23-10 to the Green Bay Packers. Be completely honest with you, that score was probably less indicative of the way the game went. Right away, Green Bay, big touchdown pass, Jordan Love, Tavian Wicks, long touchdown. Browns were down 7-0. I guess the game started at 4:25. The Browns were down 7-0 by about 4:27, it felt like. The offensive side of the ball, I don't think, Jameis Winston, there was much that, I wouldn't be okay with. Didn't get enough time out there, certainly, to get a true idea. I thought he and David Bell had a nice little rapport, keeping in mind, the Browns were at their top quarterback yesterday without their top running back, certainly without their top 3 wide receivers, their top tight end, their top 2 tackles, one of their top guards. So, it was certainly, a toned down version of the Cleveland Browns yesterday. Tyler Huntley got into the game second before Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I do believe this was, the belief of getting Huntley out there. And I think the Browns, they would have no problem putting Tyler Huntley on the practice squad. If somebody wants to come and throw a day 3 pick on a guy like Tyler Huntley, I think the Browns would absolutely be all over that. But then we got to the second half, and we got to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And I had actually highlighted him. Anybody that caught the pregame show, for those of you who did, I truly appreciate it. And Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I guess it was 14 for 18, a little less than 140 yards. The one thing I think I noticed from DTR that was maybe a little bit different than last summer, the bit we got to see him in the 2023 regular season, was just the drive and the velocity on the ball. DTR certainly seems to be in a really, really good place. The confidence is there. Certainly not a rookie anymore, now in year 2. Certainly, I think, showed with his play yesterday. Certainly looked more like a leader on the field as opposed to maybe a wide-eyed rookie who was making plays last summer. Had a nice relationship, certainly, with Jamari Thrash. Jamari Thrash, nice day yesterday for his rookie debut for the Cleveland Browns. For me, look, DTR is probably closer to a battle with Jameis Winston for the number 2 quarterback than there is any question about whether or not DTR and Tyler Huntley are battling for the number 3 spot on this roster. That is not an issue. The final cutdowns, your quarterbacks are going to be Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, and DTR. Make no mistake about it. It is probably, without question, Jameis that'll be the backup. But don't believe that maybe DTR is not that far away from probably being the number 2 quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. And I think he showed pretty well yesterday. The running backs, this has been something I've talked about. You went into that game yesterday and 3 players that are probably going to be a big part of that backfield in Nick Chubb, certainly Dante Foreman, certainly Naheem Hines. None of them were available yesterday. Jerome Ford, a couple of carries. The offensive line play was inept yesterday. We'll get to that here in a minute. Just not good. Just not good. Not up to the level that at least the Cleveland Browns have put out for a standard of the last few years. Pierre Strong had one nice run. Pierre, it's this thing where Pierre has all the physical tools in the world, but then every now and then there's just hesitation. And it's just got to be more consistent. There's no doubt the man has the talent to play in the NFL and probably be a good, solid playmaker in the NFL. But it's just got to be every play. It's got to be every rep for a guy like Pierre Strong. John Kelly, John Kelly, I think is just, kind of like everybody's favorite guy that's always going to be around here, never really going to truly be a part of the team, kind of maybe the Rudy of the team. Had one nice play yesterday, resulted in a fumble, certainly, caused the Browns points, just, not the best showing from the running backs. And when your offensive line is not playing very well, therefore your running game is going to suffer. No run blocking, no running success, yada, 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 yada. Wide receivers. I think David Bell looked pretty impressive. The thing with David Bell, and this is where David Bell, we always talk about having something that maybe the other guys don't. David Bell has got a very, very smart football mind. Knows how to get open, knows how to read coverages, knows how to adapt on the fly to find open space. Had that big one yesterday that unfortunately got called back by the pick play, which I think was a garbage call. But David Bell, nice day. Cedric Tillman, you're starting to see the growth. A reception yesterday. Just needs to get a little bit more, just every down focus. I think it's all there for Cedric. The opportunity is there for the taking. So certainly to keep your eyes on that. Jamari Thrash, like I said, it was 3 for 43. Nice rookie debut showing. In my opinion, should move up a little bit in the pecking order here in the weeks to come in the preseason. We're all pretty sure he's going to be the 6th wide receiver for this team. It's time to start maybe getting him some reps with some quarterbacks that might actually play in games, whereas Jamari Thrash might actually play in some games himself. Mike Woods, not a terrible return, a couple of receptions. Matt Landers graded well through PFF. One reception for him. Didn't really get to see the trick that is, the Matt Landers specialty. But if you're not pass blocking very well, you can't throw the ball vertically. So, again, one thing washes the other hand, yada, yada, yada. Well, everything's got to work in sync. Tight end, we did not have David Njoku. I thought Harris played pretty well. 2 receptions, looked active. He was another play that actually graded pretty well under the PFF scope. As far as the other guys, Gio Ricci, Trayton Welch, Mitchell Payton-Zaire, I don't think the Browns' third tight end is here right now. And, of course, as anybody who knows this and listens to Locked On Browns, I've been telling you for months, I don't think the Browns' third tight end is currently on the roster. But that does not mean that, you can't pull for a guy who's actually showed well. Mitchell Payton-Zaire, and it looks the part, everything about him. But I do want to see them get an opportunity for Trayton Welch here in the upcoming weeks. Undrafted free agent out of Wyoming certainly could make a name for himself. We go to the offensive line. Now, first things first, Luke Whippler, broken ankle. Don't know if he's out for the season, but certainly going to have having surgery on the ankle. I talked about this on the pregame, and I've talked about it over the last couple of weeks. The Browns have an issue with offensive line. Right now, they have issue with depth. Right now, who would be the guy that would be your emergency center? You don't carry 3 centers, so the loss of Brian Allen, while being difficult, was not the end of the world. But now you don't even have a backup center. So you're already down to your emergency center. You figure the Browns are going to make some type of move there. Tough spot for Luke Whippler. Everything I've heard to this point is Luke Whippler has been fantastic through camp, and it was certainly solidifying that role. And the Browns felt confident if they needed to go to him, they would be able to go to him. James Hudson is not a left tackle in no way, shape, or form. They just announced Deshaun Watson is not going to play this week in the preseason games. He will play in the practices. I wouldn't put him out there either if that was the left tackle I had right now. It's no offense to James Hudson. He's been good as an extra tight, move tight end, blocking tight end. He's been good as a right tackle, not good anywhere else. Zach Zinter was fantastic in pass pro, grade over 80. Run blocking, look, it's all got to work in unison. I'm not concerned. I think Zach Zinter is going to be a player for this team. So there are my thoughts. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line. Certainly a mixed bag from the offensive side of the ball. Did get the late touchdown from Aiden Robbins after one was called back. Zach Zinter was downfield, but DTR, for all intents and purposes, did throw a touchdown pass yesterday. We'll switch it up. We'll talk the defensive side of the ball. And look, some of the young guys who I kind of highlighted, I thought showed out and played out pretty well. We'll continue. Your latest Locked On Browns. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. That is where LinkedIn comes in. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That is linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns, recapping the Browns' Week 1 preseason loss at home to the Green Bay Packers. Lost at home 23-10. Game did not feel that close, to be completely honest with you. We talked about the highlights. We highlighted all that. Highlighted the lowlights, I guess. But as always, we appreciate everybody who makes the show their first listen every single day. Become it every day or subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. More guys played yesterday on the defensive side of the ball than I necessarily thought were going to. Agbanaya, Okoronkwo, Wright, McGuire. As far as the DNs, I thought Isaiah Thomas played well. We really haven't seen Isaiah Thomas through the 2022 regular season. Everybody remembers he had that lovely, lovely fake spin move on Jonah Williams for a big sack of Joe Burrow. I thought he played pretty well yesterday. Didn't get a lot of reps of McGuire, Ogbo, and Alex Wright. But Isaiah Thomas, for a guy who spent all last season on the practice squad, I thought he showed pretty well yesterday. Probably not a shot for this man to make this team this year, as we all know. But it's always good to just go out there and when you're called upon, show what you are worth. Got to see a little more Hurst early. Mike Hall, the grades were not good. And Mike Hall, but what you saw is the quickness, and you saw the penetration ability. You saw what seems to be getting everybody so excited. I'm sure for Mike, it was probably a situation of just being geeked up out of his mind. Ohio kid, Streetsboro kid, certainly went down to Columbus, Ohio State, now playing for his hometown team. So maybe good to get these things out of the way, 2 preseason games at home, kind of get all of that, out of the system, and try to get yourself back to the fact that this is now your job and this is how you're going to feed your family. But you see the traits that everybody's so excited about with Mike Hall Jr. Siaki Ika, again, look, it looks better. Body looks tremendously better than it did a year ago, but it's got to translate to something, and not much yesterday. And what is probably 3 guys battling for one spot between Hurst and Ika and Juwan Briggs. This is going to be a really, really tall mountain for Siaki Ika to climb. Maurice Hurst has already performed, and he's had statistical output for this team. Briggs comes in with a breath of fresh air, just this hard working mentality type of guy. Certainly continue, to watch and see how that situation goes here over the weeks to come. But Siaki Ika, it's getting late early. The linebacker position, look, Devin Bush, and look, I thought Devin Bush looked pretty good. But then again, a former first-round pick, a veteran, you should look good when you're playing extended snaps in a week 1 preseason game. So it's not a knock on Devin Bush. He did look good, but he was supposed to look good. Can he carry that on in the weeks to come? We figure probably by next week we'll get Hicks and JOK back into the rotation. Devin Bush is technically on the Browns depth chart listed as a starter. But look, Devin Bush, it just continued the momentum, continued the flow, certainly had some tackles involved. I think it was like 5 tackles in total yesterday. Mohmoad Diabate, going to make this roster. There's no question about it. Really, really good linebacker, had great special teams play in 2023. Certainly it's going to translate over to a different style here in 2024. But Mohmoad Diabate was a UDFA hit for this team. He even gets to take regular reps in the regular season at linebacker position. It just continues to be a move that looked really, really good on its face. Bookie Watson, he played really well, was really, really active. You saw what made him the leading tackler in the SEC last year. Still strange to say, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year, the guy who led the SEC in sacks, the guy who led the SEC in tackles, did not get drafted till round 6. But doesn't mean the young man can't play ball. And even though he left the game early yesterday, only supposed to be a bruise, hopefully he's back and get going Wednesday, Thursday against joint practices with the Minnesota Vikings. Caleb Johnson, I thought wasn't terrible. I thought he was really active. Certainly had, it was around the ball a lot, put up some tackle numbers. The Browns linebackers of all the positional groups yesterday, that was maybe a group that did not have that bad of a day. Cameron Mitchell, I thought he was going to play. He did not play. A little surprised by that, but still coming back from injury. Miles Harden, okay, I tried to tell you all about this. Miles Harden is physical. Miles Harden likes to tackle. Miles Harden has a little chippiness to him. And you saw all those things on display yesterday. So the South Dakota product, look, again, is a deep cornerback room. And the fact that Miles Harden has inside experience, has outside experience, special teams experience, certainly going to bode well for the young man to maybe sneak in there and lock down a 5th, 6th cornerback spot on this team. You're not going to be able to keep both Hardy and Brown. And when you saw Hardy and Brown yesterday, yeah, you see, made a play. Oh, no, didn't, missed a play. This is the reason you make your hay in the NFL playing special teams. And ideally, teams hope that you're not taking reps at your cornerback spot. But these guys got to get their work in as well. So Hardy, Brown, it's going to be a battle between the two of them. Halassi, the penalty, look, it was a hold. My only problem with the hold call on Halassi was it just took so late to get to it. Okay, that is what my issue was. It was a blatant hold from right away. So don't, It was almost like they tried to not call the hold so they could hopefully call the pass interference. Call what you see. Throw the flag when you see it. That's what needs to happen. But overall, look, I think Miles Harden is really, really making a name for himself. We know our top three, certainly in Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, MJ Emerson. Cameron Mitchell probably going to make this team. Then you get to maybe a Miles Harden and then maybe a Hardy and a Brown. Who's going to make this team as a sixth cornerback / corner? Safeties. Again, I was a little surprised. I'm not going to lie. Grant Delpit played. Rodney McLeod played. Ronnie Hickman, Dontavian Wicks. That was not a good matchup. And it was almost like Jordan Love went right to what he saw from the last thing they saw of the Cleveland Browns in January against the Houston Texans. And he said, where is Ronnie Hickman? They went right after him. And as we all know, we know what it turned out to be. I thought the reserve safeties, I thought it looked pretty good. Brady Breeze was all over the place. And if you want to tell me, and I'm sure, and I did not look this up, but Brady Breeze, DeAnthony Bell, granted DeAnthony Bell's only in year 3. I believe this is either 4 or 5 in the league for Brady Breeze. You're not going to tell me right now that what you saw from Brady Breeze yesterday and the headiness, the tackling ability, you can't tell me that say, hey, maybe you could keep a Brady Breeze on this team over a guy like DeAnthony Bell. So that's certainly something to watch. And, DeAnthony Bell being on the PUP list, not being able to do anything right now for a guy who was a UDFA 2 years ago and then busted his butt and made the team for a second time. It could be a tough spot here for DeAnthony Bell. You hate to see anybody kind of fall behind because they can't participate, but that is a real difficult spot. And that is just basically the fact of the matter of where DeAnthony Bell is right now. So, certainly something to watch for there. We know the Browns are keeping their top 3 right off the bat. We are keeping Juan Thornhill, Grant Delpit, and of course, Rodney McLeod. But there is going to be some fighting for those last 2 spots. Chris Edmonds, great size, great length. You heard them talk, during the broadcast about his range, that he had in college, and he can see it because he kind of almost looks like a weirdly, long, skinny linebacker, but it actually plays safety. So, Chris Edmonds, Brady Breeze, certainly some interesting guys here. No guarantee Ronnie Hickman and DeAnthony Bell have spots. When you're, long shots and, long shot camp invites, you hope for the opportunity, you hope to get the opportunity, you hope to relish the opportunity, seize the opportunity. And that's what you got to see a little bit from Brady Breeze and certainly Chris Edmonds yesterday. We'll get to the joint practices this week, Browns, Vikings. Certainly how that is all going to work out, but we will continue here. We'll get to just some thoughts here, last minute thoughts here from the game as we start to kick off this week. Minnesota Vikings coming on down to Berea. Latest Locked On Browns continues. Everybody, stick around. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. We continue on here. Your latest Locked On Browns, your host, Jeff Lloyd. Appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. If you are not part of the everyday crowd by now, we'll make a new plan. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. We are breaking down Browns preseason week 1 loss at home to the Green Bay Packers, 23-10. They had Dustin Hopkins take the day off yesterday. And look, let's all just be like for real here. Look, the whole Cade York thing and bringing him back. Look, if you did not feel good about Cade York drilling that 55-yard field goal yesterday, you got no emotion. You got no heart. You don't like kittens. You don't like puppies. Look, Cade York was put into a rough situation in 2022. With Deshaun Watson out all that time, what did we say each and every week on Locked On Browns? Do not put it on Jacoby Brissett to win a ball game. Do not put it on the rookie kicker Cade York to win a ball game. And each and every week, it was on either Jacoby Brissett's shoulders or Cade York's shoulders. Cade certainly crumbled down towards the end. Last summer, Browns brought him back, gave him every opportunity to take the job, and unfortunately, the kid just couldn't get it done. So Andrew Berry did what he had to do. He let Cade York go. He made the move for Dustin Hopkins. Turned out to be a tremendous move. But Cade York yesterday, extra point, 55-yard field goal. Great to see for the kid because there is no more difficult position to play in the NFL as far as one mistake and you're done. Like, that's just the way kicker works. You miss one big kick and one big opportunity, unless your name is Justin Tucker, guess what, bro? I'll find somebody else. But for Cade York, great redemption story yesterday. And again, you had to enjoy that. Really, really difficult moment for Luke Whippler. And when you see an injury like that in the NFL, you know what it is right away. You're talking about somebody's one limb on their body taking over 200 pounds plus, crashing into them, and it's just that simple. Leg here, bag goes. I mean, it's just appendages, bones. They just don't bend like that. No word on whether or not it is season ending, but it's a really, really tough spot, certainly. And it's even more and more difficult spot because the Cleveland Browns didn't have anybody on the roster listed as a third center. They had veteran Brian Allen here, cut off the injured reserve list last week. I don't even know if that's a possibility he can come back. But you have to think there is going to be a transaction coming here soon for the Cleveland Browns to bring in a center. There's not a lot of names. I'm not going to lie to you. Not a lot of names on a free agent list. But look, that is what Andrew Berry and his team get paid for. They're going to go scour. They're going to go find. Now, the practices this week, Deshaun Watson will participate. And Deshaun Watson has a physical green light. He is ready to play completely. He could have played yesterday against the Green Bay Packers. Seeing the way the offensive line played, I don't blame anybody for not playing Deshaun Watson yesterday. He will play he will have a heavy workloads that he's willing to take on in the joint practices against the Minnesota Vikings. He will not play in the preseason game. And again, if I'm trotting James Hudson out of left tackle, and it's not a knock on James Hudson, he's not a left tackle. James Hudson is a good blocking tight end. We've seen James Hudson have some really good games at right tackle. Last year on the road against Baltimore, they basically told the Baltimore Ravens, I'm giving the ball to Jerome Ford. I am running over James Hudson. We're going to do it as many times as we can until you stop it. Guess what? The Baltimore Ravens never stopped it. So it's not on James Hudson. James Hudson is not a left tackle. It's not on him. Why? There is no thought process of saying, are we going to try DeJuan Jones at left tackle ever? I don't know. It seems crazy that we don't even approach it. Don't even say, let's get a look at it. Let's get a rep out there. And even more crazy when you talk to DeJuan Jones was him telling Aditi Kinkawala yesterday that he thinks he grew an inch over the offseason. Because here was Aditi and DeJuan Jones right about here. I mean, it was, but look, I just don't understand why it's not even a thought process. You know what I'm saying? You might as well do it for a couple of reps just to see what DeJuan has. It certainly was not encouraging that Jack Conklin was out there with a big sleeve on his leg. Jedrick Wills, right now, Jedrick Wills is all of a sudden loved by every Cleveland Brown fan there is. They really want Jedrick Wills back. Because you know what? At least with Jedrick Wills, we know what we got. So, Jedrick Wills, heal up. I hope you're ready to go really sometime soon because, the Browns need this. And I talked about this. They needed to get some of these players that are injured back and healthy and see where everything is, because you really feel bad for new offensive line coach Andy Dickerson, because everybody's going to make him the scapegoat. But he was not here when Wills got hurt. He was not here, certainly, when Jack Conklin got hurt. Nobody was listening to the new offensive line coach's theory on who to bring in, who to draft, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But so far, rookie Zach Zinter, not a bad showing. But right now, for new offensive line coach Andy Dickerson, he doesn't have much from the tackle position. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if it was DeJuan, Wyatt Teller, Posick, Batonio, and of course Jedrick Wills. Who knows how this is going to break? But until they're back, this concern still there. So the Browns need a backup center. Browns, at least for the next week or two, in my opinion, need another tackle to get in there and take some reps. The offensive line position is having issues. It's having big time issues. And it's certainly hurting the development of team drills, 11 on 11s, and certainly hurting any development the Browns can get going with a deeper passing game in preseason games. And God forbid when we actually get to week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys and a player like Micah Parsons. All in all, not the greatest showing. I thought they would look better. They look pretty flat, is what it is. There were some bright spots. Big thing is the Cleveland Browns need to start getting their top players in closer and closer to being ready for September 8th. So if that means playing more and more guys against the Minnesota Vikings, that means playing more and more guys against the Minnesota Vikings. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. The everyday crowd is a bunch of filthy animals, but they're my filthy animals. Join the filthy animals. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. The show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.